Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast here to tell you guys about Canadips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canadips CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadipsCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadipsCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canadips for being a great partner of BellyUpSports. I'm glad that this is where we got episode 7 because I am now back in it. So
I was about to say, yeah, same.
I love this storyline. I feel like you couldn't not feature this storyline. And so here's the summary, guys. Atlanta United's long road back to title contention hits a tipping point. A decision day miracle sets up a round 1 duel against Inter Miami and Messi. I kind of wish it didn't end it with that part, but it's
good
true.
marketing right there. That's good marketing. I like that copywriting.
It is true. Apple TV, spot on. But yes, it's Atlanta United. This team that I think for a very long time, when you think about Atlanta United, since they came into the MLS, I feel like took the league by storm. You know, they went big. They went and got Tata Martino as their first coach. You know, they went and got Joseph Martinez and got Miguel Almiron to be like their 2 big signings, if you will. And I mean, a good core players. You know, Brad Guzan, you know, being your goalkeeper, bring him back from Europe to be your starting goalkeeper. Even Parkhurst, you know, a U.S. men's national team vet. Bringing him to kind of be that leader for that first era of Atlanta United. And since then, you always felt like Atlanta United was always just going to be that team in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you all the way around. I will say, I will really, really agree with you with your first point, bro. 100%. This episode got me back in. Like, I kind of knew midway through. I'll be honest, I kind of knew midway through, but by the end of it too, bro, I was locked in. Sometimes in these on-site episodes, especially in the last couple that we've covered on this show, I don't know about you, bro, but I don't always make it to like where the content kind of fades out into what the preview of the next episode is going to be. I don't always make it that far. With this one, I did, and I'm glad I did, man. It was a good one. It really was a good one. Um, got me fired up again. How many are there? 8 episodes in total?
Yeah, so next episode will be the final episode.
Yeah, got me fired up for whatever that final one to bring in, and we could talk about that one towards the end. But all in all, man, I think it summarized for the most part Atlanta's season fairly well, fairly accurate. They glazed over a couple parts, but I understand why. Like in the broad narrative they were telling, it was a detail. So, but by the end, bro, I mean. Like, you said it last year, right? On our show, we talked about. I think it was you who said Hot Atlanta was America's team, right? That was you.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, bro, it felt that way, didn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think and obviously there was another team that I was like following near that final stretch of games for the MLS season, and that team was Nashville, who I was like, they're in a weird position where they could just win a few games. Maybe they end up in the playoff because they were pretty close. They didn't make it, obviously.
We saw how that ended.
Yeah, but I mean, still, it was a fun ride to be a part of.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this Atlanta United team, I think, we got to the point where you and me were trying to make AJ of Atlanta United Fan TV feel somewhat happy. Also, little cameo from AJ as well on this episode as well. But we try to like he was checked out, and I get it, as speaking as of right now. I'm not the most all in right now with the Houston Dynamo, but hey, finally got a win, even though LAFC, take it for what you want. How
I was
they're
about
playing.
to say, bro, it's a good week. I don't know what's
It was a
right.
Jared McGlynn banger. Answers were answered. A good day, good weekend for Houston fans in general. Dynamo getting the dub against LAFC, and U of H upsetting Duke. So hopefully ending this with a trophy. But I think at the same time, I kind of get what he was going through, especially how that season was going. The expectations going into that season, right? You're having guys like Giacomakis and Almada as your big DPs, right? Guys that I mean, we heard Xiao he was prepared to risk it all for Giacomakis. And
Yeah.
I mean Almada, I mean this was, I mean going in, no, well, I guess not this season, but at this point, this was like MLS's like golden egg at some point because he was like, hey,
Yeah.
look, he won the World Cup. Maybe played maybe 2 minutes, but yeah, he was in the World Cup with Argentina. You know?
Hey, bro, he won that trophy. But yeah, bro, by that point too, he was already kind of the transfer saga. You know how every team or league kind of has one in almost any given season, right? And some last longer than others, aka, Kylian Mbappe, Real Madrid. That was like half a decade, I swear. But this one was one that I think everyone knew was coming. It was just how much money was Atlanta going to get for him. And that's why like that one to me wasn't as big of a blow to Atlanta because they knew it was coming. Like everybody and their mom who followed the league knew it was coming. Giacomakis, that one hurt. Like that one was like it wasn't like a fuck you by Giacomakis. It was just like I mean some of the words he had when he parted ways with Atlanta and MLS were interesting as he made his way to Cruz Azul, but I think it was more it just felt like a bigger blow. It felt like it almost put the rebuild stamp on Atlanta United. That's it. The season's a rebuild. Chalk it. Don't get excited for anything. They're gonna chalk this season. Hopefully, make a switch from Valentino at the end, bring somebody in, and see what we can do in 2025 if you're an Atlanta United fan. So yeah, I mean, I felt bad for Pineda a little bit, bro, but I don't know. He also doesn't inspire me. You know what it is? It's the sweaters over the shirt, I think. I think that's what it is.
Just no aura.
Bro, I was watching this episode with my wife and she was like, "Yeah, this ain't it." Like as far as like I don't know, authority figures go, you know?
I will say the temper tantrum was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, bro,
And
I don't know if I'm buying into that, you
I
know?
wouldn't be
Like
able to take him seriously when they kicked that suitcase either. So if I was in the locker room and just hearing him, and it wasn't like look, when you're getting your ass chewed by a coach, like
yes.
it's one of those where you shut up and listen, and you take it to heart. This was not your typical ass chewing from a coach. It just came off as whiny. This guy's literally like, and I mean, I'm sure everybody felt it that this guy's literally on his last legs. Like he has nothing left that's going to keep him from staying employed by Atlanta United. And I feel like you sense that from that moment in that locker room, and then even the way he talked in the press conference, how he was just like, yeah, I mean, at this point, we just gotta try to win it on the road, and that doesn't seem great. Like, I mean, I think I'm paraphrasing, but somewhere along, I feel like it
Yeah.
went along those lines as well. So, like, if you're, especially like Atlanta United, they went all out and got the sporting director from Seattle, and obviously, he did fairly well with that Seattle team. Was under the team when they had the CONCACAF Champions Cup title.
Yep.
But and then at the same time, I'm sure Xiaoyan would love to have that guy back instead of Weibel. Still don't get how he became a GM. Um, used to play for the Dynamo. I remember that. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I think at that point, and even the interview with Almada, like trying to say like how he believes in Pineda. I was like, well, yeah, send him out. He's saying that because he ain't gonna be here for long.
Yeah. It
So
doesn't matter what he says, to be honest, bro.
and I think what I liked was the interviews with the sporting director and even with some people from the front office of Atlanta and how they were kind of like, if there's a time to, you know, tear some things apart from this team, maybe this is the time. And um, who would have thought that you get rid of at the end of it, I get it that Almada was always in the conversation of leaving and Giakoumakis, I mean, that's a big goal contributor. But to lose two guys, still two impactful players in some aspect, and then firing the coach, I think that it spoke volumes on how the team responded, and it came down to your MLS vets. I mean, once again, Brad Guzan, Dax McCarthy. It came down to those two guys, keeping the guys rallied and believing in Rob Valentino, which me and Musa said it when we were covering the MLS playoffs on this podcast that that man deserves a job somewhere. If it wasn't with Atlanta United, the man deserves a job, which is crazy because he's currently unemployed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I mean, I loved everything that he spoke. He spoke more about mentality, which let's be honest, we haven't heard many coaches talk about that in a long time. Usually, it's possession, possession, possession. This guy said, "Fuck you, let's just punch these guys in the throat." And I was like, I'm ready to run through a brick wall for this guy. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel that. I can feel that 100%. To me, I actually like Valentino a lot. I thought it was a shame it didn't even seem like Atlanta really considered him all that much at the end of the season when it came time to choosing a long-term coaching candidate. And I can see why, right? I think on the resume, maybe there's just some gaps in comparison to others. But putting that aside, yeah, I liked his approach to a team that basically feels like it has nothing left to play for. Uh, I think and loses. I mean, I say nothing left to play for, bro. Not in a playoff position, not even that close when the run had to start. Losing your best talent, losing your manager in a year where you were supposed to be pretty damn good in the Eastern Conference. I think the only way to approach that is to do a strong, like, factory reset mentally and don't even worry about how they choose to play. Just get them to believe, and that's really it. Um, I think he did a really, really good job at that. I don't know if we saw enough of Valentino's like tactics on the field per se. That you can point to and be like, yeah, that's how they set up and that's why that team won. Like, I don't think there's any sort of like Valentino masterclass from that perspective, but I do think that he did a great job with the Atlanta team and the pieces he was left with. And bro, I don't know if we can consider it this. I think it is one of the biggest upsets in sports history. You could probably say that. If not that, then definitely one of the biggest upsets in like Atlanta's professional sports history, knocking off Messi in the year that he was supposed to win everything. So, yeah, man, he did a great job. I thought they did a good job of just like allowing us as the audience to buy into Valentino, getting to see his family, getting to hear from his wife, like what he was like, get to see, see his kids and whatnot. They're playing FIFA on the big screen. Love that. But yeah, bro, I mean, I thought it was pretty cool, just the character they made, not made him out to be, but let us see behind the scenes. And it made you feel way more for Valentino by the time it got to the very end.
Yeah, I think what I got from Rob Valentino, at least from this episode, was that he's a guy, and I think that that's probably the right call for be honest by Atlanta United's front office to bring him in as the interim. Obviously, he's the assistant to Pineda, which by the way they're currently 14th place in Liga MX with 3 wins. Um, his new team and Atlas. So
Hmm.
take
I
that for what you
wonder.
want.
I wonder if I mean, I think part of the reason they took a little while to actually like announce Valentino as the interim manager moving forward was, don't you think at some level a manager's coaching staff is kind of, I don't know, it presents like a conflict of interest. Like they work under Pineda. I don't know. I don't think in this scenario they were brought in all as one group together um under Pineda as part of like the coaching staff for Atlanta United, but I do know that happens quite a bit, you know, all over the world, frankly.
Weirdly enough, in this game, I've noticed that the manager does change, but the staff stays fairly the same. I mean, using the Dynamo for example, because obviously I was once part of that staff.
Yeah.
Um, the strength and conditioning coach, that guy's been there for years. You know,
It's probably an MLS thing, to be honest, bro.
Mr. Paul Caff, shout out to
Yeah.
him, cancer beater. Um, you know, uh, I mean, their goalkeeper coach, he used to be a goalkeeper coach for the Dynamo. He, went off and did some amazing guy, by the way, great guy to talk to. The dude is just stories on stories, and the guy knows all the older people mingle spots here in Houston. I don't. He told me if I ever wanted to go, I was like, I'm good. Uh, but great
Still,
guy,
awesome invite. Yeah, yeah,
a
love
great
that.
offer. Um, I mean, obviously the things that made Kenny Bundy. I mean, the guy
Mm,
literally has been part of the youth system with the Dynamo, and then obviously last year was with D2. Now he's with the first team staff. But that's kind of, I think most MLS teams, I think it's fairly similar to that, where the staff stays a little bit the same. They'll change a few pieces here and there. I mean, when I came in, they brought in a new video analyst. I know they actually promoted a dean from the U17 team to become like another analyst type coach for the first team, which now shout out to him because he went from well, now he's at Plymouth Argyle. So
Okay.
shout out
Like
to that guy.
third division?
Yes.
Yeah.
After Rooney fucked that up. So, but yeah, now he's with Plymouth Argyle, which I think is really cool. He really, I think is a great guy in general. But yeah, anyways, the whole point of that, the staff doesn't change too much. Maybe a coach here and there. Obviously, the assistant coach that the Dynamo currently have, he was hired last year. He was obviously the coach for Phoenix Rising, the won the USL that year before. But
Hmm.
yeah, now he's with the Dynamo as an assistant coach. But yeah, no, it's but more than likely it usually has like maybe one or two new faces, but it stays fairly the same.
Gotcha.
That makes me feel like an expert sometimes. But yeah, no, I think it was the right move for Rob Valentino to be the guy. I think obviously the players are familiar with him. I think that's always the thing when you do an interim coach. That's the I guess maybe the good thing, depending on how you view it, right? Because everyone's different when it comes to interim coaches. Because chances are you're not going to be there forever. You're just
Yeah.
there. You're just there temporarily. Have we seen interim coaches become the head coach? Yes, but it's pretty rare. It's a
Yeah.
pretty rare sight.
Yeah, I agree. Either way, for Atlanta United, it makes sense. I'm glad they did it that way. I think Valentino getting a chance to show off what he can do when given the opportunity is going to stick pretty evidently on his stick out on his resume pretty evidently moving forward. It's a good thing for him. So yeah, I think it worked out for everybody, bro. And I'll honesty, what I was thinking when watching them kind of complete the season and get to the point that we know they got to in the playoffs under Valentino, I think if you had asked any Atlanta United fan, of course, hindsight's 2020, but if you ask them, hey, if this is the spot you guys exited as far as the season goes in the postseason with the full team, pretend Pineda never got fired, pretend they didn't sell Yakomakis and Wiley and Almada, and you had your full roster, the one that you were supposed to be really good with. If this had been the exit, would it still have been a pretty successful season? I think most fans would say, yeah. You didn't win MLS Cup, but I don't think you were ever really expected to. And you knocked out Messi and the Barca boys when they had home field advantage in the opening round, and you lost to someone who arguably could have been in MLS Cup final, So I mean, I don't think it's that bad of a year. So by that standard, man, job well done by Valentino.
No, yeah, no, I think for sure. And when you talk about that run, I mean, I think Dax McCarthy kind of explains it the best, by the way, because he having to. I don't know if that was like planned or anything like that, but it was interesting to have that kind of conversation. But they did have it, I guess, which was him explaining like in ML because obviously, yeah, once again, MLS is different from Europe, right? And Europe, it's whoever finishes on top of the table, that's the champion. That's not like that in the MLS. You could literally be the team that just barely qualified and make a run. Does that happen in MLS? Not very often. It's usually one of the teams that you're more unlikely to expect. Maybe like a fourth or higher seed usually ends up winning it.
Yeah, but it's happened a few times, and like I will say, last year it was kind of the same on both sides. I mean, obviously Atlanta gets highlighted, but I think the Red Bulls were like seventh
Yeah,
going
they were
into the
the
playoffs.
lowest. I think of all time was the lowest seed to ever go into the MLS Cup. So you're absolutely right. But yeah, so I mean, I love how Dax is like, you can literally be terrible and still make it to the playoffs, and that was kind of his.
Hashtag Sporting Kansas City, bro.
Yeah. So
Hashtag Sporting KC.
and but he's right though. Sometimes it's not about being the best team; it's the team coming in the right form. And I think that becomes that kind of, I guess, what's that word? A foreshadowing of going into this matchup, which I love how they just skip over the wild card round, but I don't blame them, because
It was a good game. It was a good game.
Was it? It went to Pens, right?
Yeah,
Or
well, it depends. Yeah, it was. I thought it was a pretty good game. I'll be honest. I was enjoying watching Joseph Martinez in that game. It felt like it was his last game, like
oh, that's
kinda.
right. It was the Joseph Martinez maybe revenge game. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It kind of felt like it was the game you wanted it to be from like that storyline's perspective. But I understand what they glossed. Like I said, I said it before. They kind of glossed over just moments that were still pretty damn big, but I understand why they did it because there was just so much to tell from Atlanta's full season perspective, especially the end. Bro, I can't think of anybody in recent memory who's had a roller coaster of a season like that from the time the regular season started to where they finished in the postseason. I really can't think of one that like, went through the ups and downs fully and still somehow came on top, came out in a good spot.
I think I can think of one, but obviously it's not gonna be MLS. It's gonna be American sports, but not but MLS, which is it is the Nationals that won the 2019 World Series.
Yeah.
That team started their season atrociously. As a matter of fact, everyone was kind of counting them out, and even had rumors that these guys were about to trade off all their players. Yeah, because in baseball they do that, but especially when you're not good. But somehow they go into this run of form. They clinch a wild card spot. They embarrass the Dodgers in LA. They sweep, I think, the Cardinals, who they swept in the NLCS, and then make it to the World Series and literally beat uh my Houston Astros, unfortunately. Uh, and in one of the weirdest World Series where not a single home team could win a home game. And so happens that the Astros had four home games. So it was just one of those like bizarre things. But that team came in the best of form, just was like red hot going into the postseason, where it just seemed like that was team of destiny kind of vibes. Obviously different from this Atlanta United team, which you say, well, what is it? You're playing with house money at this point, right? Like
Yep.
and I mean the ultimate house money of it all. You beat Inter Miami. You beat the team that probably gets the most favorable calls if it's if you want to put those tinfoil hats on. Um, the team that somehow can get at X amount of players. Somehow Kevin De Bruyne might be going to Inter Miami.
Oh, God, don't get me started, bro.
It,
Anyway.
but yeah, it's the they're the evil empire now, even though they haven't won anything. But that's what Inter Miami is now. They are the evil. It's funny how Messi has now the quote of all time from the Dark Knight. You either die a hero or you live yourself. Live to see yourself become the villain. And I mean, I don't think anybody sees Messi as a villain unless you just despise Messi.
I think a lot of people see Messi as a villain.
Now maybe more than ever.
Yeah, I would say now, and it's not even his fault. That's the crazy part, is it's not even his fault. It's legitimately the league only using Messi to market the league, essentially. They don't use anything else. It's over
Messi's
reliance
John
on
Cena.
Messi. Yeah, bro. It's an over reliance on Messi, and then when Messi fanboys all over, right? The ones who scream with against the Ronaldo fans over who's the GOAT. Um, those fanboys pick up that messaging and say, "Look, a league's using Messi as their entire marketing scheme to reinforce everything." And bro, it just creates this vibe that like anybody who appreciates MLS, you now have to be against Messi, bro. You have to be
hmm
against Messi for the integrity of the league. That's how I feel legitimately as a Messi fanboy myself. But I can't just like I don't know, hop on that bandwagon, bro. It feels so wrong. Like I feel like as I'm cozying up next to Don Garber or some shit. I don't know. But yeah, bro. I mean, Atlanta legit became America's team. And that's why that upset was so epic, bro. So epic. Like, and speaking of like the favorable calls that you just mentioned, bro, watching it back, watching Campana push down Guzan in the net and just like the ref telling him, "Yeah,
Nothing.
I'm not gonna call that. I'm not gonna call that." He's like, you didn't call it? Nope, not gonna do it." Like, bro, it's just like it's insane to me.
And it's
Um,
funny how that immediately became a meme for like all the Miami fans. Like, oh, look how much of a bitch Brad Guzan is. And if you really think about it, the biggest bitch in the whole thing was Capana. Like that was
yeah,
it was a sucker move.
yeah, bro, literally back turned, fucking just like just. And what's your defense? Oh, he was gonna turn around and hit Messi or something. I something along those lines came out. I was like, what, bro? His back is turned and Messi already has the ball and he's taking off. I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. And then I
Suarez
think
was funny. That whole Suarez altercation.
it's
He,
just it's wild
People
to me.
don't
Then
know this, but they used to play against each other back in the Prem.
Yep. And the crazy part too, on top of all of that, is like afterward to hear like Jordi Alba blaming the MLS playoff format and like the structure and how it works. And it just felt like excuses FC by the team, by its fan base, and it's just created this vibe of in a bad way, from our perspective, it's Messi versus everybody. It's Miami versus everybody. And I mean, like I'm on the side of everybody, bro, to be honest. Like I don't know. I think a lot of fans feel that way. And so I think, like, bro, I guarantee you, people watching Onside and watching this episode were like, that's the bad guy. The fucking music changed when Messi came up when Hurt Gomez was explaining, hey, and their reward for beating Montreal is they get, and then they just stopped talking. It was just like that sudden um, thud of the piano,
And then you
and
just see
it's
two
Messi.
guys drinking mate.
Yeah. And it's like they're about to destroy you, bro. You don't understand. And they really would have if it had not been for Brad Guzan. We saw some of those insane saves towards the end. He really
A lot of his work because that could have easily been a blowout.
I don't know what was better, like that performance or Tim Howard's against Belgium in the World Cup. I mean, the occasion is definitely bigger for the World Cup, but remove that context and just focus on the performance. I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. Like it's a very tough comparison.
I mean, he literally just must have had watched that World Cup game to get himself prepared for this game. I honestly do feel like it because to me, this I'm like this is the Brad Guzan we were supposed to see because when you think of Brad Guzan, he probably had the worst job ever, which was having to follow up Tim Howard.
Yes.
Like he was set to be the next number one, right? And then there you have the pressure of a young Zach Steffen. Matt Turner wasn't even in this conversation, by the way. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, of course. He shouldn't be anyway, but that's a conversation for another day.
but who was the other name? Now he's an afterthought, but which is funny because he did help us win the Nations League the first year. The anyways, not that important.
Yeah, it's fine, fine. Go ahead.
But anyways, Brad Guzan was supposed to be the heir apparent to the number one, which it's a long line of bald goalkeepers if you really think about it. When you think of Guzan, then you got Tim Howard, Casey Keller, Brad Friedel. We have a thing for that's what we're missing. We're
I
missing a
never
bald
I never
goalkeeper.
thought about that, but that's actually 100% true.
We're missing a bald goalkeeper. We need someone needs to shave their head. I don't know who. I'm just saying.
Bro, for the shits and giggles, I would love to see Matt Turner bald with a beard. That would be fucking hilarious.
He probably has a lumpy head. I'm just gonna call it right now. He looks like a guy that shouldn't be bald. Um,
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
Maybe Zach Steffen, but
Actually I feel like he could pull it off.
he
I
probably
don't know
could pull it
why.
off
He probably could pull it off.
because he looks like Kane Brown. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, bro, I never thought about that. He does look like fucking Kane Brown. But anyway, I
You never
mean,
seen them in the same room.
or just like a weird doppelganger. That's kind of crazy though. I never really thought about that. It was like a glass shattering moment. But anyway, I mean, just yeah, the facial here. I'm sure he could pull it off. But I don't know. Keeper position since that incredible class of bald keepers has just been pretty damn bad. I'll be honest. And nothing really to write home about. Um, but I think Guzan, bro. I don't know how much longer he has in him. I wonder what that is because I do remember watching him back in the Villa days and. But I'll be honest, man. He you could argue he might have had his best years with Atlanta. Like
Yeah,
if you
no, I definitely think that it was definitely his time in Atlanta. I think. I mean, he got a lot of great experience from the time in the Prem. I'm not obviously not going to take that away from him, but I think where he finally got to at least be like the guy for Atlanta United. Like he came in being the U.S. men's national team vet, and obviously he's with Parkhurst also along that early Atlanta United team. But I think this was for Atlanta United. This was his team. Like Aston Villa wasn't his team, even though he was the starting keeper. But I mean, like I feel like Atlanta United was very much his team. And you can see him kind of taking that pressure on. Not only is he now having to be the captain of the team, but you see him him and Dax wanting to make this team, work. You had the weird hot tub scene, which I was like, this is how we prepare our bodies while the young kids are kicking the pole around. That was I was like, okay.
Isn't it crazy though how those two players probably had the biggest impact?
hmm
Like if you go back, anybody goes back to watch the game, Guzan, we just literally glazed the last 2 3 minutes, but McCarty, bro, also had like a hell of a game in the six, a hell of a series in the six, actually. Like I thought he held down the midfield very, very well. You can argue that the two old heads were their two best players the whole
Yeah,
series.
I guess they had a point with the hot tub.
I
So
guess it worked, bro. I guess it worked.
also, Brad Guzan. Good job, buddy. Like, because Dax McCarty looks straight up like a dad. Like, freaking, you got,
He does. He looks older. He looks older. He
you
talks
know,
a little bit older too.
yeah,
Guzan, you would like you told me, hey, how old is he? Is he 41? Some shit like that? 40?
40 at least up there, I think.
Yeah. If you told me like he's in his 40s, I probably wouldn't believe you. Probably wouldn't believe you.
Yeah, Mrs. Guzan's a lucky lady, but uh, but yeah, no, because Dax McCarty looks like a straight dad. Like, I mean,
Eh.
if you see him at like the water park, probably has a shirt off with his kids, and no one would think that guy's a professional soccer player.
I mean, that's fair. He's also like, pasty dude with freckles, and I mean, not like a crazy amount of muscle tone. Like he's in good shape, but he's like an in shape suburban dad. I mean, that's what you think. He talks
Yeah,
like one too, bro. He just talks
yeah.
like, your friend's dad next door or down the street or something. So, yeah, I
He'll
mean,
probably tell you don't get the insurance when you rent a car. Like all those things.
yeah, the life hacks, but
But that's who you looked on. That's who you looked upon to be the guys to like lead this core of players along with Valentino. I think if you don't have Guzan and McCarthy in your roster, like I don't know if the guys buy in as much as they would with Valentino.
or if you still have some of the guys who maybe commanded more of the attention, like Giacomakis and Almada, maybe not quite as many players are buying into what the old heads are saying, right?
hmm
Just with the distractions in the locker room and whatnot. So, I again, it felt like the perfect storm, bro. Like on so many levels. Departures, the change in coach, the mentality shift. Like it all feels like everything just came together at the right time in the best way possible for Rob Valentino, Atlanta United. And I thought overall, the folks at Apple TV and Onside definitely pretty good job, pretty damn good job capturing all the emotion. Um, I mean, anybody who was tuned into last season knows how crazy that whole upset was, and I feel like when I was going into this episode, I was like, it needs to bring back up some of those emotions that we had last year, and it did. So all in all, the episode was good.
Yeah, I think you got that, and I think you got the pressure from the front office to make the big decisions, right? Right? Like you don't make those decisions and expect a run, But clearly, getting trimming the fat, I guess you can say, ended up working out in the best way possible because you got, uh, you know, the two goals that were scored in that Miami game, right?
Yeah.
And which one I thought one of them was a replay. When I was watching it, I was like, wait, I thought they were replaying that first goal from John, I think his name was. I
Uh,
believe he's French. I
I can't pronounce his last name,
yeah.
but yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, bro. I mean, like I said, it was all in all, man. Yeah, like you mentioned, the critique of the team, the pressure being that I felt. Honestly, bro, how cool would it have been to see the man get fired? That would have been crazy. Like yeah, fly on the wall when they actually did when they had the phone call or like did whatever.
Oh,
I've always
uh,
wanted to at least try like experience that in some form or fashion as a fan. Just to
experience getting
see.
experience getting fired by a professional MLS team.
No, not you, not you. I'm saying like get to see, bro. What I would have given to see Nico Estevez fired at FC Dallas, bro.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I mean, because I can tell you how it feels like to get fired by an MLS team.
don't get me wrong, bro. I don't wish anybody getting terminated from their job. That's not what I'm saying. Is that I think at some point you have to hold in a result-oriented business, you have to hold those who are at the wheel accountable. And I feel like sometimes franchises, pro teams in general, make excuses for lack of moves, lack of ambition, for not moving a manager on when it's clearly time. And I don't know, bro, with how much passion we saw from the GM in this episode. Just would have been dope, man, to
I
see
mean, dude was
behind
in
closed doors.
tears. Dude
That's
was
what I'm
like,
saying.
dude was in cusp of tears. But no, and you're right. I think the thing is, people need to understand that this business is very much cutthroat. It has to be cutthroat. You can't, like, you're gonna have to make decisions, and you're gonna have to let go of people. You're gonna have to let go of people that you didn't even think was even necessary to fire, but you're gonna do it anyways.
Yep.
Because because especially when you're talking about a culture change. And I mean, and in some aspect, this is what Atlanta did. It was a culture change. You're trimming the fat. You're getting rid of the people that have whatever they felt was, I don't want to use cancerous, but cancerous in some sense, to get the positive, positive mentality to get a team to work unified. You have to make those big decisions. You know, going back to the Dynamo, I mean, they fired a lot of people that were still stuck in the old regime's ways. They're like, "Oh, this is how we always done it." And it's funny because I actually had a conversation when I was still with the Dynamo where they're like, "Oh yeah, we usually do it like this." I was like, "Yeah, well, the usual way you did this caused us to suck. So I kind of want to do things my own way. If my shit doesn't work, then we'll go back to the old way. But
Fair.
as of right now, whatever
Fair.
y'all did sucked." So,
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I mean that's how you have to treat it though, right? Like I'm actually prepared to say like in some ways you can argue that it felt like open heart surgery, not just trimming the
hmm
fat. It's a major shift they were going through. So, and yeah, I don't know if it makes sense to get rid of the old and in with the new for everything. But I think in more cases than not, it's definitely required just to get a fresh start, hit that mental reset. So again, I think they did a good job of just explaining how some of that worked and the expectations and how they dealt with all of it. But just some extra scenes. I know they probably can't show that to us, but damn, bro, that's the behind the scenes or the sneak peek that I'm looking for from some documentary series out there on the sports front. So,
I mean, I think that what was it, Hard Knocks, that show when the player wasn't able to
that
have key card access to like the training
bro,
facility.
when they get cut, I don't know. It's like to me, I just want to hear how the leaders on the team, the coaches, right, approach that situation. Like, what do you say? How do you put it together? How do you help that person understand? Um, Getting cut from tryouts or like from training camp is different. But that GM had so much passion, bro. I just want to see what his rationale was to
hmm
Gonzalo. Like how do you like I don't know, man. How do you go about that whole process? What do you say? It would have been super interesting.
No, yeah, I agree with that one. But I think this episode was very much a great palate cleanser for these last two episodes. Um,
Yeah.
it gets me sold back in, and I mean, and also like once again, AJ, AJ, our very own from our Goals TV family is in this episode. I mean, maybe he's not talking as much as more so his co-host, but still, really cool to see that. You know, clearly Apple TV likes some of the content, at least from content creators. And I know Atlanta United has more of a connection with the city of Atlanta, which also, by the way, I love the shots that they had of the Atlanta fans, even the pregame hype and all the. I think Atlanta is uh one of the most enjoyable fan bases when it comes to MLS. I think obviously definitely know how to pack a stadium when there's a reason to pack the stadium. Um, but still, just the culture of Atlanta United. Atlanta is just a culture that it's hard to explain unless you're there. And I think it's also the fact that like you have so many Atlanta rappers that are super supportive for Atlanta United. You got Waka Flocka going to these games.
Yeah.
So uh,
I think they do a good job. Atlanta United's bro, I have nothing but respect for Atlanta United. Yeah, man, I think it's just the culture's so ingrained into the city, into the town that I know for a fact, and some of this is hearing it from AJ himself, but I know for a fact that like not only the Atlanta market, but like MLS as a whole really noticed that Atlanta as a fan base is pretty vocal. And I mean, bro, with AJ, make no mistake, man, he's one of the OGs of like the MLS content creator space and, giving fans a voice and obviously communicating his own opinions on his show and his channel. He's doing it for like what, 6, 7 years now, 8 years now. So he's been doing it for a long time, and bro, he it's awesome to see that he got into this series. I actually heard his voice
Yeah, I
A
heard.
couple amount of times. Yeah, it was a fair amount. But yeah, bro. I mean, obviously, there's no, in my opinion, no better source for Atlanta United coverage out there than AJ and Atlanta United Fan TV. But yeah, bro, it's crazy. I was literally just with them in person at All-Star last summer. And now this fucking dude's on onside. I mean, we'll see what's next.
And that just tells me that I gotta say dumber shit on on Goals TV. So I get a feature.
It's
So,
crazy, bro. Crazy. I love that though. I love that.
but yeah, man. Aside from that, man, I think this was a great episode. I do love, I do love just going back to this at Miami just implosion, if you will, because of just everything that went by. You said excuses FC, but also all the people that were like fans of just Messi, so confused, calling it a third leg when it was very much not a third leg. Look, I'm not a fan of this playoff format. But when it came down to pissing off all these plastic Inter Miami fans, I was like, you know what? This is the best playoff format in the world. No changes to this format, but please do change it.
The crazy part is though, bro, is that like okay, even if it was a two-leg format, the only way they go through is on away goals or penalties, right? So like it's still not clear cut even if they go back to what they're used to for Miami to go through in this one. I truly think Messi fanboys are so locked in for 2025, and if you didn't know why, it's because of what you saw in this episode of 2024. Um, it's just now, bro, it's like super personal, and we know this on the Goals TV YouTube channel in the comment section that I feel like we're fighting in every single week. So they're just on another level. Like, bro, we basically can't even say anything negative about Miami without it looking like we're just straight up haters. So
Which is crazy because this team has yet to prove that they are, you know, an MLS Cup contender. I
I've
mean, yes,
had
I mean they're doing really well in the season, but I mean
bro,
like,
it's crazy. I've not just had football intelligence questioned. I've had my actual overall intelligence questioned for simply just not picking Miami to win every game they play. Like, bro, like I don't understand. Like, I don't care what sport we're talking about, what league we're talking about. The most dominant team out there loses matches. They do. Like it's true of anybody. There's not a single team in the world in any professional football league that is winning every game of every season. Like I don't care if it's MLS or not,
I
bro.
mean, just
So
look at Real Madrid this past weekend. So,
it happens. It happens to everybody. But again, like being so like you could tell who hasn't watched MLS. If anything, bro, MLS is harder to predict, in my opinion, than other leagues out there. It's like anybody could be anybody. It's more true here than I think in most leagues. So I don't know, man. I get it from the lens of Messi fanboys, but I'm gonna take every chance I possibly can to just hate watch that team. Hope they don't make it far. And if they do, I mean, whatever, bro. It was supposed to happen anyway. So
Who is that guy?